Red Dead Redemption 2 is without a doubt one of the best open world games. But what about HDR? What I like the most in Red Dead Redemption 2 is the day and night cycle and the weather effects, because sometimes it can look like a painting, but not like a painting with a lot of details in it, especially not in specular highlights, because HDR specular highlights are really just looking like SDR information, just much brighter. And that means HDR in Red Dead Redemption is not bad, but also nothing to show off with, because again, sometimes it does look very flat, and the difference to SDR, to the real SDR picture, is just pure brightness and not more information in specular highlights, which is very bad, because I would say if Rockstar Games would just put half of the effort in HDR as they put in animating horses, we would have one of the best HDR games ever. But now let's talk about facts. Does Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series supports the HDR system level calibration? No, it does not. At least not on the PC and not on the PlayStation 5 version. I can't verify the Xbox Series version, but I'm very sure it is not supported. Okay, so let's talk about my recommended settings for Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series for the LG CX G2 and similar TVs. And this right now is an example, and I'm very sure my camera is clipping details right now from the specular highlights here from the sun. But this is one of the examples where I would like to see a little bit more details. This right now is just really a round object called sun. And yes, I know it can look like this in real as well, but still there is something missing. It does look flat in my opinion right now. Don't get me wrong, the overall impression from this game is just wow, amazing. The overall visual impression from Red Dead Redemption is on such a high level that very less games actually can reach it. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West on the PlayStation 5 is very close, I would say, actually, but in terms of animation and in terms of world detail, this one here, Red Dead Redemption 2, is still one class better. But first things first, let's talk about the HDR calibration in this game, and we have a couple of options where we can set up HDR as we like it, and one of the most important options is called HDR style. And here you can choose between game and cinematic, and I would strongly recommend to change this from cinematic, because this is, according to my information, the standard setting. Change it to game, because otherwise you have a very flat and actually I would call it powerless or not very powerful picture. So HDR style, game. Then we have the option called peak brightness, which is responsible for the maximum peak brightness of specular highlights in this game. Next option is called paper white, and this option is changing the average picture brightness in this game, and in my opinion one of the most important settings for Red Dead Redemption 2. Let's talk about black level rays in Red Dead Redemption PC version, especially when you activate VRR. I couldn't find black level rays or grayscale rays on the PlayStation 5 version, but this is most likely because there is no VRR activated, or I haven't activated it in the game. Not even quite sure if you activate VRR for unsupported games, if it would then have black level rays on the PlayStation 5 version as well. Not quite sure what is happening when I'm going inside here, because this guy has a gun, but he is maybe friendly. Anyway, if you have problems on the PC version and you're suffering from a little bit of a washed out picture, try to change fine-tune dark area settings to -10 on supported TVs. I found that -10 is on the edge where it starts to clip very fine details in very dark objects. So -10 on the PC and activated VRR is my recommendation. And here we are with my recommended settings for Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, but keep in mind I haven't tested the Xbox version at all, but I believe there is no difference between PlayStation 5 and Xbox or PC in terms of HDR. Anyway, I think this spreadsheet speaks for itself. The only very important thing is that you change the HDR style to game, and then it's really up to you what you like to use. If you like to use HDRG on supported TVs, dynamic tone mapping on, or Dolby Vision. It's really up to you. What I really don't like in this game, as always, is dynamic tone mapping off. But yeah, give it a try. Try those settings and put in the comment section what do you think. I personally like HDR in this game a lot because it gives you, compared to dynamic tone mapping on, a more realistic look during daytime and night scenes like this. Dynamic tone mapping on, even with my recommended settings, is brighten up the picture a little bit too much. I just enjoy HDR in this game, and just please keep in mind that my camera is not showing you exactly what I can see on my screen. There is nothing too dark, there is no crushed blacks as you may see it on your screen because of my camera. HDR is just doing a great job in this game. And also in daytime scenes like this, and I know I'm not very lucky with the weather here because it's just foggy, but to be very honest, this just looks amazing. I like the atmosphere here. It's a little bit scary because I'm playing online and you have really no idea what is happening next, but this just looks great. I love the effects from the fog. But anyway, in terms of HDR, I don't think it is too dark, even in scenes like this. But if you like to have a little bit of a brighter average picture brightness, give it a try with dynamic tone mapping on. But still, my recommendation is, in terms of the best HDR experience, try HDR. Is Red Dead Redemption 2 worth to play in 2022? Absolutely. I think it's actually a must play if you haven't played it, because for me personally, it's one of the most interesting open world games. Most interesting because the possibilities what you have in this game, and actually I love the animation, I love the world. I really think till now this is one of the best animated open world games. And if you can, play it on the PC, because unfortunately PlayStation 4, there is no PlayStation 5 version or Xbox Series X version. It's limited to 30 FPS, but I have to admit it was actually not too bad back then when I played it and when I tested it on the OLED. So it looks like, because the picture is very blurry when you move, you can't see much stuttering, but I still prefer PC version. Even I can't play in, or I just can play in 1440p with ultra settings on my 3070 because unfortunately game is still demanding, but I'm playing in around actually 80 FPS on average, which is absolutely fine, and it makes so much fun. And again, in my opinion, must play, and it really doesn't matter if you play in SDR or HDR, this game is a masterpiece.